President Joe Biden is no longer running. That's right, for the third time. Listen, I had to look this up too. For the third time in the history of the United States, a president is not running for a second term when they potentially could have. The third time. Joe Biden's the third. The first one, George Washington, essentially running now, again, it's running for another term when they can. So George Washington, technically, nothing in the United States, nothing in the Constitution said he couldn't run for 3. He could have been president for the rest of his life. He probably would have been able to keep it as President George Washington. But he stuck with 2, and he said, listen, after 8 years, I'm done. I'm going to move it on. So he was one. Next one was James K. Polk, who was in like the early 1800s. I think he was like the 11th or 12th president. And then we go, I'll skip all the way through 30 presidents later. Joe Biden, the 46th president, said, nope, I've got one more term. I'm not going to do it. And the main reason is because, for as many of you are aware, if you watch any media source, or if you go online or haven't been living in a rock or under the hills for the last, or in the hills for the last 3 weeks, it's because of the debate performance. So for months and months and months, the White House and his team have basically been like, no, he's fine, he's doing great, he's got more energy than the rest of us. But he got up on the debate stage, and for those political experts out there who say that debates don't matter, basically, everyone has their debates, their mind made up. The debates don't influence anyone. They do. If it's done absolutely amazing, or if it's done absolutely, like, hands down, both sides say that it's one of the worst, debate performances ever, then yeah, that's going to have an impact. And that's kind of what happens. He went in there and he was not acting like kind of the Biden that we were expecting. Yes, we know that President Biden has kind of a speech impediment, and sometimes he'll stumble and mumble words together. Like, we were expecting that, but we were also kind of at the same time saying, well, as long as he brings up the policies, calls out Donald Trump on some of his lies that he'll probably say, like, we'll be fine. None of that happened. None of that was there, and so therefore, everyone was kind of like, we've got 4 months, and this is where we are, and it really showed, he showed his age, and he's 81, turning 82 this year, and really, I think it opened up the eyes to a lot of people saying, being president ages you anywhere. I mean, you take a look at, like, Obama, Bush, Clinton, and it's amazing to see what they look like on day one, and they're like, oh, hey, I just got the presidency, and then even after 4 years, they're just like, oh, what did I get done with? But yet they run for another 4, and after 8 years, I mean, they're gray, they're all this stress, and you can just tell Biden, like, it's just, at that age, too, it just wears on you even more than what that's doing. So I think he kind of realized, like, listen, after being told with family, a lot of kind of his inner circle people that he trusted, and like, listen, we're going to support you. We got your back, Joe, but just realize that, like, are you up to this? And I think that it took some convincing. It took, and they say sometimes that in order to run for president, you've got to have a very unique mindset. AKA meaning there's not too many people that want, I don't think everything wants to be president, but to go that far down that path and to be president, like, you gotta have a little bit of ego, a little bit of hubris to you, of like, guys, I got this. I'm president. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of takes a certain kind of mindset for people to want to be president and want to stay president. And I think finally he kind of realized, talking with his family, talking with that yeah, could he have done it? Remains to be seen, but I think, whether you call it wisdom, whether you call it a sense of patriotism, whatever you call it, I think Joe Biden realized, like, listen, I served as a bridge president. That's what he kind of ran in 2020 under, of like, listen, I retired from politics after being VP for Obama. I realized that I should come back because I can help. And it kind of came back in and says, I will be a bridge president. and kind of anointed Kamala Harris. Like, I'm going to choose her as VP because I think she could be the next generation of leadership there. And then just kind of after 2022 said, nope, I'm going to be president again. I'm doing a great job. So he kind of had stated he was going to be a bridge president. And I think to have the legacy that you have, potentially, now time will tell in 5-10 years, historians will be able to look at with more data points to see what he did, but to be a president with one term, to step aside, that's going to do more for your legacy as a president, to realize like, hey, I'm not the best candidate for being this. I'm going to step aside and let someone else do it. That could say more volumes historically than it would now. So where do we go from here? So that got us to Sunday, when he made the announcement at like 6 p.m. and I couldn't come on to be like, guys, what's going on? So he made the announcement and basically said, thanks everyone, it's been great. I'm out of here. I'm going to focus on being president for the next until mid-January till the next president comes in. I'm choosing my VP Kamala as my kind of successor. Now, does he have the ability to do that? No. Technically, no. So, President Joe Biden leaves. All of the money that was raised under the Biden-Harris ticket, technically all they do now is they rebranded, they made a new LLC, and they basically changed the sign on the door. So what was the Biden-Harris campaign is now the Harris for America campaign. Boom, new label, new company, new PAC, all that stuff, new money. All the money now Kamala Harris gets to use. And actually, she took in $100 million in 24 hours. That's right. As soon as President Joe Biden said, hey, I'm not going to run for president again, I put my support behind Kamala, $100 million was raised. The most money raised for either candidate in a span of 24 hours ever. Even after former President Trump had the attempt on his life, weekend past, he raised, I think it was $75 million in the span of like a month after that, within that week, $100 million in addition to what they already have in the bank for Kamala Harris after the announcement. So that's crazy to raise that much money. So clearly there's support within the party, but there are some Republicans coming out and saying, well, hold on there, Mr. Biden. You can't do that. States have already printed your name on ballots. It's unconstitutional for you to leave. And the Republican I'm speaking of is Speaker of the House Johnson, Mike Johnson, who is pretty much a character from any kind of NCAA football creation after about 5 years where you gotta the game makes up characters. Mike Johnson stepping in as your punter. Mike Johnson said, nope, can't do that. States can't change the ballot. You're on it. Because I think Republicans want to go up against Biden because they already got all the talking points. They're ahead of him in the polls. They want to keep Biden in there because they know they got a better chance of going against him. So they don't want anyone new. But here's the thing. The primaries have been held, and Biden has been pledged, the word is pledged, his delegates. And Biden can now drop and leave, and those become open delegates again. So you do your primaries, just like in an election, because of the Electoral College, you do your primary, and if your person wins, then they get the delegates, just like in the Electoral College. If your state wins, they get your electors that get to then cast the official ballot for your candidate. So we did our primary. If you did your caucus, and if you had your votes, then you get your pledged delegates that are supposed to vote for you to do that in the convention. Well, the Democratic convention is in like 2 weeks. I think it's the 19th is when it starts, 16th to the 19th of August. So all of Biden's delegates are technically up for grabs now. He has relinquished them back. He can't be like, hey, I'm leaving, so give them to Kamala. Nope, can't do that. So all of these delegates are technically back up for grabs. So with Biden throwing his support behind Kamala, and a lot of the higher-ups, Hakeem Jeffries, Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, a lot of the Democrats that have been seen as, oh, you should run, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Josh Shapiro, I'm throwing a bunch of names at you, but these are high-ranking Democrats or Democrats that have seen as like, oh, you should run for president, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, have all pledged behind Kamala to say, hey, we think that she is VP already, she can do the job. And so no one is really, could they go out and run? At one point, Joe Manchin, the senator from West Virginia who was leaving the Democratic Party and going to run as an independent, he was like, oh, I could run. He's not doing it anymore. I think he reconsidered what he was doing. But, so right now, Kamala is going to go into the Democratic National Convention with all this kind of support, and the delegates could technically vote for whoever they wanted. She's going to campaign. She has said that she is going to earn the votes. That right now they were voting for, the Biden-Harris ticket. So her name was kind of under there as far as where it was. But she's like, I'm going to earn it. I'm going to go forward. And then through the Democratic National Convention, whoever gets the most delegates or whoever gets the amount of pledged delegates there, that's who becomes the official Democratic nominee. And of course, Kamala, if she does get it, will then choose her VP, and then that will go on the ticket. So the Republicans who are sitting there like, nope, you already said Biden. It's almost like a little kid, kind of like a takesy-backsies. Like, no, you said you were going to do it, no takesy-backsies. You said Biden. No, he can drop out at any time. Now, if this was after the convention, which is the official nomination for the party, then we're now getting into some murky waters, some tricky things of what might happen. But he did this before the convention. He is not technically not the official party nominee yet, They didn't go in there, just like with Trump. Just like with Trump, when he went before this, he was the presumed nominee. And then they had all the delegates come out there, and then on the first day, they all said, yep, we pledge it for Trump. Then he became the official nominee. That's exactly what the Democrats are going to do in a few weeks. So if you hear all these things of, well, the Republicans are going to take it to the Supreme Court and they're going to sue the Democratic Party, there's nothing really in the Constitution that would allow them to not do it. Again, the Supreme Court has done some crazier things, so I'm not saying that they wouldn't overturn or veto that thing. They shouldn't interfere, but who knows? Who knows what's happening? So that's where we're going. Kamala's going in there. She's got the support of most of the Democratic Party, bringing in the money, causing the unity. So the Democrats are coming behind Kamala, seeing who she's going to be as a VP. That brings us to the convention. Now where do we go from there? Well, we got 3 months of a campaign. Former President Trump, there's supposed to be another presidential debate, second one, and there's supposed to be a VP debate. The VP debate, the Republicans have pretty much all but pulled out of. They said, nope, we don't want to do it. J.D. Vance, we don't want to do it. The second presidential debate, former President Trump has said, I know we agreed on it being on ABC, but unless it's on Fox News, I don't think I'm going to go. So the second debate is now being questionable as how is it going to be run, what's going to go on there. And then basically, we have the debates, and then we have the election, and it comes down to, is the United States okay? And I say this delicately because sometimes individuals are pretty sensitive about this. Is the United States ready for a female president? Now, we had this back in 2016. Clinton ran, was the first big ticket, first major party to have a female nominee on there. I think obviously she didn't get in. That's why we're having this conversation. A lot of people didn't like Clinton just because of the family name, because of the Republicans coming up there saying the family ties and all those things. And maybe in 2016 we weren't ready for a female president. Well, it's 2024. Basically, we need to wonder, are we okay with having it? You look at other major nations. I mean, the UK, they've had a female prime minister, in the last 10 years. Angela Merkel. In Germany, you look at all these other, Mexico just elected their first president. So you look at all these other nations, what we would consider developed nations can be run by females. I know it's tough. I know as a man, it's like, well, my little my little delicate ego, we couldn't possibly have a woman be the leader. I mean, not that all wars in the history of the world have been declared by men. Those kind of things. It's like, okay, really, men, can you put your ego aside to say it's 2024? And I love how you use that phrase. Like, every time it's that year, you always use it to be like, hey, it's this year. We should be more mature. When you're looking at, like, are you kidding me? Have you read the paper and seen Florida man does this? Like, clearly not everyone got the memo that this is the year we're supposed to be in. Women can do the same thing as men. Can they? It's like, yes, of course they can. So that's where we go from here, is we look at the nomination, we see if Kamala gets it, we see who her VP is, we see if the Republicans, the Democrats are very anxious now. They want to do those debates. They want to do the second president. They want to do the VP, because this is going to be the best way that we can get their names out there. We can show what potentially Kamala could do. We can show what the VP would do. And the Republicans are like, oh, well, we were thinking we were going to debate Joe Biden again, and that was going to be easy, and I don't know if we want to do that again. So we got the debates, and then we've got about another 2 months until the election after that. And then we see what we can do. And we see if it comes down to, will people vote for, Kamala, a person of color? We had Obama, and that was, it's like, that obviously broke a huge trend that would have not, you told someone 100 years ago, they'd never believe it. But is that enough to say, well, sure, you can have a person of color, a black man, but a woman? Oh, I don't know. I mean, literally, if you look at the Constitution, you look at what got it, white men had all the rights. Then black men, after the Civil War, the 13th Amendment, got the rights. It literally wasn't until another 60 years later that women finally got the vote. So it was like, listen, you're a man, that's fine. You get inherent rights in there. It took literally another 60 years before women even got the consideration. It's like, no, you should be at home. So 100 years ago, would it have been possible, literally, they got the amendment to get them in there, to get the right to vote? Can we have a president who does that? I don't know. We've had a VP, we've had senators, governors, mayors. Clearly, they've shown that they can lead. Now it's just going to be a matter of president. It's going to be a matter of president. The woman can run, keep her own home. Yeah, Windy City, I know. It's like, hey, listen, you can manage a home. That's all we can get. I'm using sarcastic, everyone. I'm saying this as someone ignorant. You can manage a home. Well, just go do that. That should keep you busy. Go keep the kids busy. It's like, no, if we trust women enough to go manage the home, they should be able to manage a country, should they not? So, and again, I am not saying this as far as politics goes. If the Republican Party nominated Nikki Haley instead of President Trump, I would be having this same exact conversation last week. I would have said, whoa, we're going to take you on this whole roller coaster of everything, of the Republicans nominating Nikki Haley, the woman on the Republican ticket, doing the same thing. But yet, I don't know, Lady Moffitt, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. But like I said, that's how we got here. That is literally the last 3 months of stuff, years of stuff, really, combined of what happened literally just set in motion from Sunday. So, pretty interesting stuff. That's where we're at politics-wise.